Welcome, everybody. I am Eva Medilek, your high performance and transformational leadership coach. And today I get the honor and the privilege of having a guest that I get to interview today. I'll be interviewing Karen Abrams, and she is a Theta Healing Master Healer, an intuitive, and as well as a international best-selling author. So what's so special about Karen is she focuses on the profound impact of relationships with yourself, others, your body, money, spirituality, and she believes these are foundational for creating holistic success in life. And that's aligned totally with what I do as a high performance coach is to align yourself, your interactions with others, your success markers, and to show up as the best version of you that you possibly can. Right? We want people getting the best of us, not the worst of us, not the crumbs, not the leftover pieces. So she specializes in transforming your inner critic into a supportive and trusting ally. So, welcome, Karen. I'm so happy that we get to talk again. Karen was a guest when I had my live radio show back in the olden days. So, it's so wonderful to see you again.
Oh, it's so great to be here, Eva. It's so very magical moment. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So I want you to tell people, kind of in your own words, how you do what you do.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I do work that's called theta healing. And what that is a very powerful meditational technique that connects you to both your subconscious mind and your inner wisdom together at the same time. And that is a very powerful connection because from here we're able to look at your thoughts and your feelings that are riding you into the rails. So I'm nothing, I'm worthless, right? Everybody passes me by, those kinds of things. And then anger and trauma and insecurity, those sorts of things our thoughts and our feelings are the things that guides our direction. These are the things that make our decisions and shape our lives, right? And so we can go there and change your thoughts and feelings, these negative ones, into empowering ones and uplifting ones. And when that happens, you just naturally start feeling better and lighter. And then you naturally start making decisions from a better place in your life and more in support of yourself. Your boundaries change in your favor, right? Because you're more worthy. So we don't have that complicated relationship where I say yes to the things I don't want and you get your way all the time, right? And most of all, it's those barriers, those invisible barriers, which really are subconscious barriers, right? The things we know we should be doing and we're not doing them and we don't know why. Those barriers start coming down and we're able to take the actions that we need to take because so that our lives can move in the direction that we want and we can get what we really truly want and deserve from our lives.
It's funny. I just so happened because I didn't know in detail what we were going to talk about, but I just
Yeah.
know that last time we talked a couple of years ago, I really got so much value out of our conversation. And I was just listening to a Mel Robbins podcast
Mm.
um, yesterday, I think it was, and she had a doctor on. I can't remember his name right now, and he was talking about our self-talk, our
Hmm.
inner
Yeah.
voice, and that seems to be kind of a theme because the brain believes what you tell it.
Right. Right.
And so the kindness that we show to others, hopefully,
Hmm.
we also get to be practiced in showing that to ourselves. And the
Yeah.
self-talk is so important. And, when you think about how many times I know myself personally, when I make a mistake, the amount of
Hmm.
time I spend in a little bit of self beat up and,
Hmm.
I should have done different. Like, how could I be so stupid? Like,
Right. Yeah.
when you talk, and it's not just any unworthiness, but we just don't speak to ourselves as kindly as we do, as we could. Or the things we say to ourselves, we wouldn't say to other people.
Right.
Except some of the people
Right.
on the internet are pretty bold and mean. So, so I love, that you have a way to help us take care of our future self.
Mhm.
and how we can align ourselves with, the crazy world we live in right now, how we can really show up as our best self.
Yeah, I think it's just crucial. I mean, the first relationship is a relationship with ourselves. That's foundational. And yet, really what happens is the one that we have first is with our parents, right? Or whoever's caring for us. And from the time that we are born till we're 7 years old, our brain waves are in theta, which means that that's the brain wave that accesses your subconscious mind.
Mm.
So the way we are treated that entire time, we believe, given that we have such little brains, and this is just where we're at that moment, is that we caused it to happen. So if somebody treats us well, we're amazing. If somebody treats us poorly, we deserve it. We're unlovable, we're unlikable. There's something wrong with us that gets us there. And that's where the chatter starts, right? And then it just builds from there. And I remember I had this one moment like you're talking about where I was looking at myself in the mirror, and this happens with women all the time, right? And I'm looking at my body and I'm like, ooh, I like that. I don't, I don't like my legs. I like my abs. I like, I'm like, and I hit me all of a sudden. I went, oh my gosh, I would never let anyone talk to me this way. I never would you ever let a friend say to you if you made a mistake, right? That, oh my God, that was the worst thing you could have done, and you're never gonna get over it, right? And you're so dumb. Like you'd be like, are you kidding? But we allow that from ourselves because it comes from the inside. So it's very, subversive in that sense. And so we need to be able to change those inner conversations that we're having. And with this work, that's where we go. That's where we change them so that we can come back with the most loving lesson possible to move us, in the direction of our dreams.
I find for myself personally, I'm really intentional about trying to practice positive self-talk,
Yeah.
and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
really, really hard. I look in the mirror and automatically you focus and zoom in on what's wrong. It
Mhm.
doesn't look right, or the standard,
Mhm.
this cellulite, this is
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
firm, tight. When I really wanna look in the mirror and say, "You know what? You look good for being on this earth this long, and you're still rocking it." And I say it, but I always question, do I really believe that deep down inside? I
Uh-huh.
know I'm not gonna get my 20-year-old body back.
Uh-huh.
It's birthed babies and it's eaten cake and chocolate. And sometimes not gonna happen. The metabolism is definitely different, but
Uh-huh.
when it's hard, even though
Uh-huh.
you know the the detriment it can come to your self-conscious, right? Subconscious, what you focus on grows.
Mhm.
How do you make it easier? How does it become easier?
It becomes easier when you heal the traumas that cause the thoughts to go in that direction. Becomes easier when you can forgive somebody for harming you, and you can forgive yourself for harming you. And it becomes easier when you start accepting yourself for who you are. And that's when you let go of these painful things and you learn what you're meant to learn from it in a beautiful way. Things start changing. Like forgiveness is a big, big thing, right? And it's one of the most powerful things, along with gratitude, that can really bring your life into a new space. And what I found when I went in early on in my career, I've been doing this over 20 years now. I remember asking while I was in a theta meditation, like, what is forgiveness? Because, you know, what we learn when we're little is that, somebody steps on your toe or punches you in the arm, right? And you start crying, and the teacher brings over the kid and says, say you're sorry, right? Say you're sorry. And he's like, I'm sorry, right? And then you're supposed to say, and then the teacher looks at you and you're supposed to say, it's okay, right? And so we learn, but that's that time when we learn that said, it's okay that you hurt me. It's not okay that you hurt me. It's not okay if I hurt myself. But we have to figure out what it is. And so what I found was that it really means letting go of the pain that you cause yourself or that others cause you. And if you can get to that point, And even, inside that, you can get it to at the subconscious level. Here, you can always ask that question. If somebody has harmed you in some way, can you say, is it okay for me? Am I ready to let go of the pain that somebody caused me? Right? Because we hold on to it because they think we have power. This gives us power. I'm never forgiving you for that time you did this thing, right? Never. Just see this fist every time I see you, right? But all I'm doing is hurting myself. I'm not hurting you at all. There's no control I have. The control I have is to let go of this pain and let this thing heal. And so when we go into that space and we understand and we can say yes to the question, we can honestly say yes to that question, that pain starts leaving our bodies. And then it's not informing us, right? Because that pain causes anger. Anger and resentment are some of the things that block your intuition,
Mhm.
right? Because if you only see red right over here, I can't tell what you're really after. I'm just like, no, she's a this and a that and a that and a this, and it's bad and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to make all these weird decisions because, right? But if that anger is gone and I go, oh, you know what? She had a bad day. She said something to me sideways. She had a bad day. It's
Mhm.
okay. We all have bad days. Sometimes some stuff comes out of our, even if we meant it in that moment,
Compassion.
it was right.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you go, I deserve that. There's nothing inherently wrong with anger because I think anger is kind of a step in a direction of it's a boundary maker. And it
Mhm.
says, I don't deserve the way you're treating me. I don't deserve this thing that happened to me. That's okay. It's just how long do we stay there? So if we just get kind of juiced up a little bit and go, oh, and then go on to another action or go on to do something very loving for ourselves, then that anger was very informative and good for us.
Mhm.
And if we keep it, right, then it just burns a hole inside of us.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
remember I was doing work with a client. Some of the work that I do when I'm onboarding a client is, I created a relational style assessment that actually looks at how some of our earlier life experiences are impacting and
Right.
sabotaging how we're showing up today. And I was doing this work with a client, and I had a breakthrough in
Mm.
my own life. My entire life, I was never able to accept a compliment. If
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
said, "You look pretty,"
Uh,
I would say something self-depreciating, right?
mm-hmm.
Thank God for makeup. God bless Estee Lauder. You should have seen me in the morning, like all of the things, right? And
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out why it was so uncomfortable for me
Yeah.
to accept a compliment. And then this memory popped up. When I was about 12 or 13 years old, my dad used to speak to me in front of the newspaper.
Uh-huh.
I'm having a conversation with me. Didn't see his
Uh-huh.
face or anything. And he had saw me talking to a boy that was like 16 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to talk to me about that boy.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, listen, if anybody ever tells you you're pretty, don't believe them. They're just after something.
Oh.
That was him
Oh.
warning me about this boy he thought would be a bad influence,
Mm-hmm.
which was not, because his twin
Mm-hmm.
brother was a nicer influence or something, but well, whatever. And my father only said that once to me,
Mm-hmm.
but it took root like a
Yeah.
dandelion that
Wow.
no matter how much I thought I pulled it out, it would
Yeah.
regrow. It would regrow. And I'm like, that's when it started. Do
Mm-hmm.
not believe anybody who compliments you, tells you you're pretty or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the breakthrough I had, helping my client have a breakthrough about her relationship with her father and how it impacted how she shows up. And so when you talk about the forgiveness and the healing that needs to happen so that we can, have more compassion and kindness in our self-talk and in ourselves.
Mhm.
How do we do that? How do we get to that point? Because a lot of us may not remember what the mobilizing factor was that kind of put that thought in our head, or what actually needs to be forgiven so we can move on.
That's the beauty of this work. It's a team effort, right? We go into a conversation and we start talking and I get some intuition on what's going on. and we'll talk. Let's say you wanted to talk about something like money, right? Let's just use it. Oh, like uh, my business hit a ceiling, an income ceiling, and right now because of the economic this or that, right, uncertainty, people aren't spending money. And it's like, okay, so let's figure out what that is, okay? And so then I'll go, oh, okay, well, there's something with, first of all, there's that belief people aren't spending money, right? People are holding on to the money tightly, and so they're not going to want to spend money on me, and I'm undeserving of that money. I'm undeserving. I don't hold value, all of those sorts of things. So all these beliefs start coming up in my intuition, and then we can energetically, with your permission, we can change those beliefs. Because you're in theta, you can, and because you're in theta, you can allow that inner wisdom to shift from the inside, right? Like, and just like it shifted for you when your dad gave you that piece of information, right? But this is coming from this purely loving source. And he was loving you in that moment
Yeah.
because he was afraid that, right? He was
Mhm.
afraid you were going to get taken advantage of. And he knows boys, and he's like, they're all bad, and I don't want any of them to touch you can get married when you're 30 and no one's going to touch you till then, right? So he was trying to put something, right? He was trying to
Exactly.
instill fear in you, like everybody be aware of everyone, and right. And so when you when we figure that out, then we can go in there, and with your, like I said, with your permission, we can change those beliefs. And also, in when you're in theta, and you're using your subconscious mind, when you have that access, you're basically, your mind can talk to your body and tell it what to do. And so when you say, well, there, you have a lot of anger towards this person and that person, or you had trauma because you grew up poor, or you grew up, and I remember times when we didn't have food. And so would you like to let go of that? Would you like to heal that trauma that you had there, and that money trauma, or whatever that was? Doesn't mean money is always related to money. It could be related to powerlessness. It could be related to deserving and receiving and all of these other things. And so these are the places that we go to. And when you heal an emotion, especially a feeling, it's replaced with unconditional love and understanding and compassion. So it's like you're throwing out the spinach and bringing in the ice cream, and it feels really nice. You're like, oh, okay, I deserve. Okay, that's okay. I could learn something. Like, you can learn, like, oh, my dad was just trying to love me in that moment, right? He's trying to scare me to keep me aware, because that's what parents did then. That was a very common way to make people aware, by scaring them,
Mhm.
right? And then you can run back and hide behind his thigh like you're 3 years old
Yeah.
whenever there's a man around, right? And
Does it
that's what
seem
he wants
a
to do.
parallel in what you
Yeah.
just said to what's happening in the world today?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
people are, our leadership
Yes.
is driving fear.
Right. Fear is always going to be a very effective way to learn something
Yeah.
and to drive home a message, because it's so instinctual. As cave people, that guided our decisions also. Except back then, we had to worry about being killed by the weather or wild animals or
Yeah,
starvation.
the saber-toothed tiger,
Right,
yeah, yeah.
exactly, the saber-tooth tiger. So that fear was very informative. The difference is that they came out of the fear when they knew they were safe,
Mhm.
and then they would go back into the fear when they knew they were going out to go hunting or whatever they were doing, or berry catching. Here, we tend to be in
Constantly.
stress all the time, and we don't have that break,
Mhm.
which, on the good side, is why things like this are here, things like theta healing, why meditation is here, and all these wonderful things and coaches to help us, right? To help us go, okay, from the outside in, because you're in your little merry-go-round here right now. Let me just take you out here, sweetheart, right? And
Yeah.
let's talk about what this really is. And you go, oh, okay. And we're allowing ourselves more than ever to be reparented.
Mm.
And I really believe that all this is. And when we speak to ourselves in that negative tone, and when we're really being our own worst enemy, it's an effort to parent ourselves in that moment. So when we start being able to parent ourselves with love and
Interesting.
support, yeah,
That's interesting. We
yeah,
are parenting ourselves sometimes
oh yeah,
in the style of parents who didn't have all the tools that they needed at that time in their lives to parent,
right,
you know, as well as they could. They did the best they could. I
They
tell my
did.
clients, "Well, with the tools that they had. You know what?
Right.
They just had a hammer.
Right,
Now we
exactly.
have a whole toolbox, and we can
Right.
use the appropriate tool for the appropriate project, if you will.
Right.
And that's one way to look at it. But yeah, looking at it as an attempt to parent ourselves in a
Yeah.
way is a new perspective to look at it.
Oh, absolutely. And we need to come back and go, all right, sweetheart, you're okay. Or you made a mistake and what can we learn from that?
Mhm.
Because the most successful people out there kind of go back to those spaces all the time as if they're like, God, I remember when I was broke. Like they wistfully go back. I remember when I was
Yeah.
living in my car and I didn't know what I was gonna, and they've got this big smile on their
Smile.
face, right? Or I made the mistake and I got fired from the best job I ever had,
Mhm.
and it was the best thing that ever happened to me, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they have
They
that
have
the
that
hindsight, the 2020.
that privilege of hindsight. And what
Mm-hmm.
I notice with people, I coach a lot of leaders
Uh-huh.
and aspiring leaders, if you will. Having these tools to regulate their own emotions and self-talk and reparenting and all of that, giving them tools like you have with the Theta Healing
Yeah.
makes them better leaders
Right.
in their own lives, in
Uh-huh.
their communities, at their jobs, so that they can role model,
Mhm.
right, what this type of healing and behavior looks like kind of on the other side. So I think it's
Right.
a powerful tool for for anyone who is in a position to have an impact on other people, to kind of show and lead the way and do themselves a favor of healing from
Yeah.
those patterns that are sabotaging or damaging
Yes.
us to be able to show up as our best selves. So how can people learn more about you and what you do and work with you? What you got for us?
Well, you can go to my website, which is thinktheta.com. So that's THINK theta, THETA.com. And I do both. And you can reach me there, and my phone number's there if you want to reach out to me too personally. And I also teach classes, and I do these 4-week, 1 hour a week full theta healing classes where you get a chance to feel that energy and shift and change. And I'm actually doing a free preview. The next one, we were talking about your future self, right?
Mhm.
And your future self is energetically bringing that hindsight to you now, right? So you're connecting to the energy of your the future self, the version of you that already has what you want, that already has your needs met. And then you're combining your energy with their energy. You're stepping into their space essentially, and then bringing it back with you. And when you bring it back, you could do like a future self walk is one of these little videos that I do every week of my feet walking and getting energetic downloads that help you move forward right into your future and assuming you're already there. And so your future self really helps a lot with and I'll just give you like a teeny tiny example of this where even just with me one time I was doing a future self walk for like 5 minutes. All my needs are met. I'm making the money I want to make. I'm making the impact I want to make, right? I'm walking around. My posture is different. The way I walk is different. The smile on my face is there. Everything is present and lined up. And then I walked into my office and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna stay here, right? I'm gonna stay in this energy. I love it. And that morning, 3 people had canceled on me at appointments. And normally at that point in time, I would have been like, all right, well, whatever, I'm just going to go on with my day. Right. And I sat there and within 15 minutes, I had 3 people who took their place. And I can't even tell you what I did. I just was in that energy and I just felt like, oh, okay, I got a hit on this person. I got a hit on this person. I got a hit on this person. Reached out. They're like, oh my God, I was thinking about you.
Uh,
And it filled up. And that's just a small example of what it is. Anyways, this one is about wealth because there's so much economic uncertainty and there's so many decisions being made at the government level that is causing people to be insecure and go back into survival mode. And I can feel it. I can feel people kind of holding onto the rails here and going and not knowing what's going to happen, afraid that their futures is going to be compromised because of decisions that are being made. They don't know. No one knows. It's the unknown. And what I know about the unknown is that it's like a ball of clay that you're shaping with the universe, you know. And so when you bring your good energy to it, you can shape something very different. And so bringing this energy into the theta brainwave that deep of your future self and doing stuff on wealth, you're going to get feelings and understandings and healings so that you can be a better receiver, that you can feel you can stand in your power, that you can expand your ability to uh, receive more financial wealth and personal wealth, you know, and meaning in your life. And so it's going through just in these 4 1-hour sessions. Wonderful. Gosh, it's really fun to come into that space and heal the stuff and feel free to receive more. And then you get these fun little exercises that you can do all week that'll help you bring your frequency into a higher place so that you start attracting things, attracting opportunities, right? Attracting, meeting the right people at the right time, making better decisions for yourself
And I think
that
we
bring
can
you to this
all use
place.
that, right?
Right. And it's an easy way to come in and this is on June 11th at 12 p.m. Pacific.
Uh-huh.
And it's a way of coming in and playing for free and just seeing what it feels like to be in this energy. And then you can decide whether you want to come and play with me after that.
Do you have a link to that that I can share in the show notes here?
Yes, I will send you that link right now. You could sign up for my email list at thinktheta.com, and then you'll get the link that way also, but I will send you the link and
Perfect.
that we can put in notes for everybody. But
Yeah,
yeah, there's nothing like free just to
yeah.
find out. You want to dip your toe in the
Free
water?
99, I call it. I love free 99 all
Free
day.
99. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the price point anyways is very low. It's only 197 and it's both 1 and 2 payment options. So it's a really easy place to come play anyways.
Mm.
But come in for free, see what it feels like and see that week how things start lightening up and how you start making better decisions and having a great time with it.
Well, thank you for offering that. That's wonderful. I'm going to check my schedule and make sure that I'm available for it as well
Oh,
because
great.
I love manifesting and attracting good things my way. So, and thank you for coming back and chatting with me. You know, I was just remembering the theta session we did. It was a few years ago, and
Wow. Yeah. It's been a
yeah,
while.
it's been a while, and it was so helpful. So I appreciate your generosity and just sharing your gifts with the world. It's so wonderful. So everyone below this video, you'll have Karen's information and how you can take advantage of her teachings on June 11th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. And thank you again, Karen. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we will see you next time. Bye now.